Hello, my name is Marie Laveria, and today and my channel is at Living a Simple Life. And in my last video, I show and tell what I eat for breakfast. And today I want to show a meal, like not an entire meal, but it's a dish called Tabouli, and it's something you can use for lunch or dinner. It can be a side dish. It's a grain dish with a variety of different, now I wouldn't say vegetables, but parsley, tomatoes, onions, mint. It's a delicious dish. And so I want to show you how I make this dish. It's very versatile. You can use it as a side dish to any fish, chicken, any meal you have. It can be your carb dish because we start off by using quinoa. And quinoa is a very small grain, and you have to wash it before you put it in your recipe, before you cook it. You have to rinse it off. And usually the recipe calls for 1 cup of quinoa. And so I rinse off a cup, and then I put it in a pot with 2 cups of water, and I allow it to come to a boil, and then I lower the fire. And I have a gas stove, so I do have fire. And then I cook it for 20 minutes. And I watch it because sometimes the fire's a little too high and it makes all the water evaporate, and sometimes we have to add a little bit of extra water, like another half a cup or a quarter of a cup, depending on how much boiling goes on. So today I'm doing a double recipe, so you'll see I'll tell you what the recipe says, and then I'm going to put in more because I'm making a double batch. So you cook your quinoa for 20 minutes after you wash it, and 1 cup of quinoa with 2 cups of water. And my recipe for this and the picture of the quinoa for the tabouli is on my website, livingasimplelife.org. So you can go there and download the recipe. So then it calls for curly parsley. So curly parsley looks like this when you buy it at the store. The difference between curly parsley and flat parsley is curly parsley is really curly and flat is just a tad curly, and it's more flat. So you can use flat parsley if there's nothing else available. So today I use 2 cups. The recipe calls for 2 cups of flat parsley. And what I do is I take the parsley after I wash. You always wash your vegetables and the parsley, the mint leaves, the scallions, the tomatoes. Everything needs to be washed before you put it in your food. So I just pull on the curly parts and I take them off the stems. Then I chop them up in fine pieces. And 2 cups of parsley goes into the quinoa. Well, I should say yes to quinoa. And since I have 2 recipes, I'm putting, I'll put it later. Then I have, it calls for a 1/4 cup of mint leaves. So I wash the mint before I cut it. And then I put it in here. And then 3 medium tomatoes. So as I said, this is a double recipe, so I cut out a lot. But I'm just going to put in 3 medium tomatoes. Again, the tomatoes, I cut them in half after I wash them. Half, quarter, and then again. And then I cut those in 3 pieces. So that's how I get them to be this size. And then I add 3 green scallions. These are the scallions when they're not cut. I call them that. Some people call them different things. Small onions, but I call them scallions. And then as you put them in there, you make sure you mix them in there. And then the next ingredient is lime and lemon juice. Now, it's great to have fresh lime and lemon juice, but at this time of year, here in Maine, they're available 6 tablespoons in total, so 3 of each. They are available, but they're expensive, and so I keep this liquid stuff in my refrigerator, so I always have lime and lemon juice available, because if you keep lemons too long, they go bad. So I put three, and the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of lemon and 3 tablespoons of lime, but because I'm doing a double recipe, I'm putting 6. So I always shake them well before I use them. 6 tablespoons of lime and lemon. I should have probably measured them before Okay. And the last thing that we put in this wonderful dish is olive oil. Now, I've said this in my other videos at different times that I only buy California, 100% California olive oil, because if it's not 100% California, it may not be 100% olive oil, because other countries don't have the laws that we have to make sure that nothing is added to the olive oil. So that's why I use this religiously. So it's a 1/4 cup per recipe. And these are the ingredients pretty much. I also put in some salt and pepper. So pepper, you can put in as much as you desire. Some people like a lot of pepper. And then the salt is, I'm really careful with the salt, because my friend that eats with me, he can't handle a lot of salt, so I try not to put more than half a teaspoon of salt for one recipe. And these are the ingredients for the tabouli, and I mix them up. Now I have a lot of tabouli, a lot of quinoa in here, so, but basically this is what the tabouli looks like, and it's better when it's served cold. So it's good to cook your quinoa ahead of time, like maybe 3 or 4 hours, and let it cool. So I hope this was helpful, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.